Welcome to the Debt Doctor podcast, where we deliver the definitive prescription for navigating distressed real estate debt. I'm your host and America's most qualified debt doctor, Bill by Mel. I've spent my career investing in, diagnosing, and reviving thousands of distressed real estate situations. The Debt Doctor prescribes proprietary remedies to help you identify, acquire, and monetize undervalued real estate assets. Each episode gives you insider access to the strategies top cohorts use to transform market volatility into double-digit returns. If you enjoy what you hear today, hit the follow button, subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and please share your support with a quick review. You can find me on the web at billbymel.com. Thanks for joining this episode of The Debt Doctor. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for joining another episode of The Debt Doctor. Today, we are going to introduce you to a new segment of the Debt Doctor podcast, one which you can find pretty regularly on our previous real estate lowdown podcast, Coffee with Bill. And shout out to my friend Lita, who reminded me to place my Nespresso order this week. They're apparently running a pretty good promotion. I must admit I'm an Nespresso person. I do not get paid by Nespresso for saying that. Maybe someday I'll get some free coffee out of it. But I've tried them all. I am a coffee drinker. I'm a multiple day, cup a day kind of guy. But the point of the Coffee with Bill series is it's an opportunity for me to sit down with you, my audience, and share something maybe a little bit off topic. Perhaps it's a personal topic unrelated to real estate. Perhaps it's unrelated to debt, and perhaps it's something going on in that I just want to make a comment on. And in today's episode, it is going to be a little bit related to debt, of course, because the Debt Doctor subject, but it is certainly a topic outside of the realm of real estate that we are going to talk about here today. But before I get into that, I do really thank you to the 1,400 or so of you that have already subscribed to receive this podcast on YouTube, and the many hundreds, if not thousands more on other devices that are listening to us on a regular weekly basis. One of the promises I make to my audience is we're not going to do clickbait type AI-driven images or other types of tricks of the trade, so to speak, to try to attract your attention as an audience. It is through great conversations, interviews with interesting cohorts from any spectrum of life, and certainly from all political, financial, class spectrums and departments of the world. So we are really here to bring you the great content, and hopefully it will speak for itself. If it does, like us, subscribe, and share, and do make comments. Ask questions. I love to be interacting. This is really an honor to be able to share my thoughts and my connections in the world with you. So today I wanted to speak in my Coffee with Bill. While I say that, I do want to shout out to Nespresso. I'm on my third cup today. Yeah, that's probably a little too much for before noon. But anyways, I started the day with Vivito, which is a vitamin B infused coffee. And then I'm now added a little Costa Rica Longo into it. So it's a little bit of a hodgepodge. I think I've had enough coffee, though. I'm speaking fast enough, don't you think? Anyways, so I want to talk to you today about early wage access. Early wage access. This is a world of debt that and financial chicanery that I had kind of seen developing in the last few years in the sidelines while going to securitization conferences and looking at various private debt offerings. But out of nowhere in the last few years, something has popped up called early wage access. As I'm going to read you the Google's AI overview of what early wage access is, and then we're going to delve into why I'm bringing this to you and then what it really means. Early wage access, also known as earned wage access, is a financial service that allows employees to receive a portion of their wages, their earned wages, before their scheduled payday, typically through a mobile app. Proponents view it as an alternative to high-cost debt payday loans, helping workers cover unexpected expenses and improve financial stability. EWA providers monetize their services through small fees that for expedited transfers, optional tips, or employer-paid subscriptions through though some options are free for employees. Without going down a rabbit hole here, you might be listening to that saying, wow, that sounds pretty good. And I will give you the list of earned wage access providers. The top ones, so you can do some research on your own. And please, when you do this, I hope you're doing this for the purposes of educating yourself, not because you have to use one of these products. Okay? I have been fortunate enough to be in a position in my life as an adult where I haven't ever had a situation where my paycheck was the only cash coming in to me at the end of the week and that there was nothing in my bank account. I always had some assets, some way of earning income immediately or access to cash through credit or other devices. So I have not, for a very long time, luckily, thank God I'm so grateful, been out looking to do, for instance, a payday loan. And we're all familiar with payday loans. They're on street corners across America. Payday loans are also, many of those payday loan operations around America are also housed simultaneous with check cashing centers where folks can go who maybe don't have a bank account, can go right and for a fee of a few points, get that check cashed right on the spot. And payday loan centers are, in general, a pretty frowned upon thing. I mean, it's seen as, while very useful to those who've needed them, it has become known, both payday centers and these check cashing centers where they're charging you fees, they have become known to be pretty costly to consumers, especially the payday loans, to the point where if you ask an average American, do you ever take a payday loan? They will not. They would prefer not to. It would be seen as an act of desperation for the consumer. Now, before I go any further, I want to talk about fallacies. Those of you that know me, that have seen me speak in the last year, I have spoken to the idea of fallacies quite often. Fallacies are mistaken. Another way of saying a fallacy, it's a mistaken idea or a paradigm that society buys into that's just not true. The most common one I can point to in America in the last 50 years was the fallacy idea, the thinking amongst men and women of America in the early 1900s that a woman's place was in the home. That was obviously a fallacy. We've seen this through the success of modern day woman. There are a number of fallacies that I can point to that are proven incorrect eventually over time. I One very, very common one was when Alan Greenspan stood up before Congress in 2005 and said there has never been an indication or a worry that residential real estate prices across America would ever fall on a national basis. And 3 years later, the world proved him wrong. The smartest man in America at the time, or what many would say, certainly one of the great banking minds and macroeconomic minds of American history, he got it wrong. He, in essence, created that fallacy by being a leader in that thinking. And so earned wage access, why I bring up the word fallacy, because I have a lot of beliefs, and I'm in my forthcoming book, The Storm, I spend almost an entire chapter talking about fallacies. The earned wage access paradigm right now is a complete fallacy, ladies and gentlemen. Let me give you the list of some of the most common earned wage access providers. These are PayActive, Daily Pay, Claire, Earnin, Branch, TapCheck, ZayZoom, Immediate, Rain. These are the top 9 that I just, pulled off the internet. And you can do the research. Every one of them looks like a very friendly, consumer-driven, easy-to-use apps. Really awesome. Well, I would suggest that maybe what will help you to understand the fallacy thinking here. A few weeks ago, the More Perfect Union podcast on YouTube did an episode called Billionaires Found, a New Way to Steal Your Paycheck. I highly recommend you take 20 minutes and watch some of the interviews with some real life people who are now dealing with the consequences of using the earned wage access program. And they do a fantastic job of drilling down into the finance and into how tech and the apps and the design of this system, the way it speaks to consumers, and the lack of the need for an APR disclosure, or the lack of the need for transparency, or the lack of really calling this what it is. That's all kind of laid out in that More Perfect Union episode. And I highly recommend, there are some other great YouTubes about it. What's disappointing is how out in front this industry is, creating the fallacy that exists today. I gotta hand it to the banking and financial lobbyists that work for these groups, to these organizations themselves, and the lawyers that represent them. But they have somehow bypassed all rules and regulations as it relates to loans and lending by convincing the U.S. Congress and the American people that the fees that they charge are not interest, that these cash advances that people are taking from them are against the collateralized income they have coming at the end of the week, that these are somehow not loans. They have recharacterized payday loans into a clean non-loan program, apparently, called earned wage access or early wage access. And there's a lot of legal thinking that justifies that, well, it's not a loan if you've already earned the income and you're just getting early access. They have done such a good job, not a perfect job, as you'll see in that YouTube if you watch the Billionaires Found a New Way to Steal Your Paycheck episode that came out about 3 weeks ago from More Perfect Union. Shout out to More Perfect Union for some really great content that's apolitical most of the time and unbiased. Anyways, earned wage access is debt. Take it from the doctor himself. What these folks are doing, pulling cash from a company, being charged a couple of dollar fee just to have that cash drawn from their account 48 hours later. It is when you break it down using the standard form of formulating annual percentage rate on loans. If this industry had to apply the APR standard, which is the standard that payday loan companies use, that banks use, that private lenders that are regulated, any kind of conventional loan market uses, and really even private debt has to disclose APR. Credit cards, APR, student loans, everybody goes by the APR except for earned wage access. Because if they did, the numbers would be over 1,000% in many cases. So while this program may be providing short-term liquidity to people, I have no problem with its existence. I think that any opportunity for a struggling family, a single mother, or a single father, or young people with or old folks or whatever it might be that are on a fixed income, living paycheck to paycheck. If these programs really do help you and you can manage your way through them and not end up in a snowball effect where you're just borrowing from Peter to pay Paul and you're never really getting ahead or getting deeper and deeper, I love it. The program should exist. The ability to get small loans to people is a brilliant thing. But call a spade a spade. Earned wage access is debt. Congress has to wake up to this. So do the American people, because unfortunately, another one's name is Dave, by the way. That's another one. And these are, unfortunately, social media and the technology app system has done a fantastic job masking debt as some kind of game. And this is not a game. These are people's lives. So I don't know. Woo. I got a little angry there. My back is kind of like sweating from that. I kind of got a chill. I didn't mean to get so emotional about it, but it's serious. When you see a fallacy in the world, someone's going to benefit from that, and others, many of us, could really, a lot of us could really, that are less informed, could be the victims of systems where they just don't know any better. And this earned wage access thing is a scary, scary thing. What's scarier to me is that most of the social media programming about it is pretty favorable. If you go into, because it must be the providers have done such a fantastic job flooding the market with ads and positive reviews and pros and cons that really don't talk to, or they lessen the reality of it. But there's just no doubt that earned wage access, which is a program that's out there, it's getting securitized and sold to Wall Street. More and more money is getting poured into this, more and more money seeking your little bits of your paycheck, and they're not calling it a loan. This is debt. Because if they didn't have access to your bank account, they would not be giving you this money. This is debt. You're paying fees. Those fees, based upon the amount of time that you have to return it, create an APR, and the percentages are not great. The only reason I'm saying this today is just to point out the fallacy. Call a spade a spade. I'm not judging whether the program should exist. Let's just call a spade a spade. I guess that's what a bunch of coffee on a Wednesday morning in September does for you. Anyways, that's my coffee with Bill for today. If you like what you've heard, please don't forget to subscribe. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Do you think that earned wage access should be regulated more? Do you believe that it's a debt? And is the debt doctor crazy? Tell me what you think, and thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. That's a wrap of today's episode of Debt Doctor. I enjoy bringing this content to you each and every week, and I really appreciate you tuning in. Remember to follow us so you get notified whenever new episodes release. If you haven't already done so, please share one of your favorite episodes with a friend, family, or colleagues. And if you don't mind, leave us a positive review on Apple, Spotify, or whatever your favorite listening platform might be. Until next time, thank you for investing your time with us on The Debt Doctor.